let's talk about your psychology and your mindset through your cycle. So, this is such an interesting thing that I've been talking about with a few people I know because I track my cycle. And one of the things that I recommend for women that I work for, so that I do therapy with or connect with who are in business, who are in leadership, whatever it is tracking their cycle. And we do this for a number of reasons. And I track my own for a number of reasons. One is to understand if my cycle's consistent, because that if it's not, that tells me a lot of different things that we'll get into. Knowing when I'm going to be tired this month, knowing when I'm going to be high energy and clear this month, knowing when I'm going to be a little bit moodier this month, knowing when I'm going to get the best out of myself this month, and knowing when I need to ease back. All of that is really important, particularly if you're in leadership in business, because so many people rely on you and it can be really easy to overwhelm your schedule at the wrong time of the month. So let's get into it in today's episode.
From Australia's leading burnout therapist, Sheena Shuey. From Australia's leading burnout therapist, Sheena Shuey, live from
Anxiety. It's not something that happens to you. It is something that happens for you.
Sheena, it is so nice to have you. I'm going to get straight to the point. What does burnout mean?
Oh, that is a really big question.
So let's get into the using your cycle to help the mindset, career, business in your life. So the thing about your cycle is there's phases, right? There's your luteal phase, there's ovulation, there's a part of it that's PMS. So the number one thing I would say to you if you're watching this or listening to this is you need to track your cycle. If you aren't already doing that, that's the first thing I would recommend getting onto is tracking your cycle. Then, once you've tracked your cycle, notice, is it consistent? Is it the same every month? So it's 28 days every month, or, add or plus a day. So 27, 28, 26, whatever. Or again, you might have a shorter cycle. So that's 21 days or 23 days. And again, just to bring it back down, even the most basic level, your cycle is from day one of your period until the next start of your period, right? How many days in between? So you've got your period phase, you've got the week after your period that you have the most energy. You've got the phase where it's the week before your period where you're going to have less energy, less motivation, more brain fog. You've got your PMS phase, which is usually 2 or 3 days just before your period. And then again, you've got your period phase as well. So what's important to plan around is that you can eat around your cycle. Your hunger is going to be different around your cycle. Your mood is going to be different around the different phases. Your energy levels are going to be different. So why it's helpful to plan and then track it is that you can predict moving forward around some things. So for example, if you want to host an event, if you roundabout know when your cycle is or when you're due, then you can plan the event during your week after your period's done, because you're going to have the most energy, you're going to feel the most social, you're going to look your best, feel your best, have the motivation and energy, versus if you book that event during your luteal phase, the week before your period, or your PMS phase. Because if you book it when you're PMSing, you're going to be grumpy, tired, snappy, more so than if you book it at other times. And so it can be helpful to think around those sorts of things. Even at another level, if you're pitching to someone or recording podcasts, you've got content creation to do, it is so much easier and more of a flow state if you can do that during the week after your period rather than your PMS phase or the week before your period. Now, don't get me wrong, we are going to have to do things at all stages and you absolutely can do them. But if you want to try and get the best out of yourself, why not plan for that? Or similarly, if you have admin days, maybe some quieter days that you're planning for, where you just catch up on paperwork or catch up on relatively easy tasks, a perfect time to do that is during your PMS phase when you know you're going to be more tired. The other reason that all of this is really important is because it can affect our relationships. So the thing is that when you're aware of what's going on hormonally and in your cycle, then you can be more aware of what you need for yourself. And then that way, that will affect how you engage with your staff, engage with your partner, and engage in your health activities. So, if, for example, the week before my period is due and during PMS time, two things happen. I allow myself to eat more and I allow myself to sleep more. Now, why is that important? Well, for me, for some of you know, I've been on a bit of a fitness and health journey, which means I've been in a calorie deficit to help with some of my health issues, right? I don't do that on a daily basis. What I do is I base that on a monthly cycle. So I know that once my period comes and the week after, I tend to be less hungry and have more energy. So I can eat less and work out harder, which improves my mood even more. But I know that the week before and during the period, I am going to be more hungry and more fatigued, and I allow that. If I fight that natural cycle, I'm going to be even more moody and even more stressed out. And I'm not really going with the natural flow of being a human being. And so, again, this is important because even when we were hunter gatherers and then the next phase where we were farmers, we worked around that. So women were often sent to caves during their periods. And I always joke that maybe the men knew that the women were going to be PMSing and they didn't want to deal or whatever. But also women got to relax and be with each other and connect and have a place, right? Like during a period, it was a sacred time. And because we all lived in tribes, we all synced up with each other. So a lot of the time, all the women go together at the same time, and so that's how it worked, and they worked around it, whereas now we tend to work like the every single day of our cycles meant to be the exact same, that we're going to have the same amount of energy, the same amount of motivation, the same amount of brain fog or no fog or whatever, and that is just not the case. And so if you're mid PMS or mid period and you're expecting yourself to act like you act earlier in the month when it's the week after your period and you're high energy and you're high motivated and you're in a good mood and your libido's high and your energy's high and you can push harder in the gym, you're almost working with two very different women. And it's easy to expect yourself to operate at that high level all of the time when that's not realistic for you. So, really remembering that you're going to have great weeks in the month and weeks where you need more rest and recovery, and planning your diary accordingly makes a huge impact on your overall mental health, physical health, well-being, right? Because if your body needs more sleep and you deny it that sleep, you're going to feel that. If your body needs more calories and you deny it that, it's going to be angry. Your hormones are going to be affected, everything affected more. And again, if you need less sleep during those times when you feel good and you have high energy. It's important to embrace the fact that I can push harder today, or I can do 2 workouts today because I really feel it. Like, allow yourself to really embrace the high energy that you feel. So, I hope that this was helpful and a bit insightful for anyone who's thinking about this and thinking about your team as well, about how can you work with your team around them embracing their cycle or learning more about their cycle, and how can you be kinder to yourself throughout the different phases of your cycle. And then again, for those of you who have uh, ups and downs in your cycle. So let's say one cycle's 35 days, the next is 20, the next is 30, the next is 22. Going to your doctor and talking about that, because there's something bigger physically going on there with your womb, with your physical health, with your hormones, and acting like that is that you're meant to work the same every single day when clearly your hormones and your energy are going to be all over the place is going to make you feel like you're going crazy or that there's something wrong with you when there absolutely isn't, but you need to get to the core of what is going on physically for you. So, can you see how working in this way makes you feel more normal and kind to yourself rather than a more patriarchal way where men have a 24-hour cycle? They can work the same every single day with just different moments in that day. Unfortunately, we have based a lot of our workplaces, careers, businesses, lifestyles around a more male patriarchal cycle rather than working in a way where men and women work differently. And that is completely okay. We can bring out the best in each other by doing that. So be kind to yourself, track your cycle, and I hope you have a wonderful day, wonderful week, and I will see you in the next episode of Burnout to Brilliance.